Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Beyond Second Cognition. I'm Beall. The topic of this discussion is you have value as long as you don't think you're a victim. First off, I want to apologize for the audio issues we've had lately. I got a new PC and we've been playing with combinations with two microphones trying to get the audio on this particular PC working, and it's spotty at best. I don't have a lot of money to invest in a mixer to make everything sound studio quality professional, so I ask your forbearance while we work the bugs out. I'm trying a different approach today, so maybe we'll have a little bit better audio. We'll see. The thing I want to express to our listeners is that everybody has value. It seems that all too many human beings don't believe they have value, or their ego thinks they have more value than it actually does. One thing for certain is you will not have value so long as you continue to believe that you are a victim. When you know your own worth, you are not a victim any longer. Now, I'm going to use the situation of the social justice warriors because they're real big on the victim mentality and they're tools for radical leftist ideologies. And within this, you're going to also get grouped Black Lives Matter and the feminists and anyone else out there beating the breast about how they're victimized by culture and society, the patriarchy as they call it, without giving it any meaning, and how they feel that they deserve special endorsement and special treatment because they feel so victimized. The first thing to take note of these social justice warriors, these butthurt, privileged Hollywood stars with this entitlement mentality, is the fact that none of them are underprivileged. Most of them are white college students with serious identity problems and zero job skills. They're internet babies. They've grown up with a silver spoon in their mouth, and yet they're all victimized and feel that they are entitled to special treatment. These people are no more victimized than I am, but their egos has them firmly convinced that they are so put upon. Then we have the other college students, the ones who get awarded tuition-free access to colleges because of their race. They don't necessarily have to pass any academic standards to get into this college. They just have to say, well, I'm black, or I'm Chinese, or I'm Japanese, or I'm Mexican. I'm a put-upon, victimized portion of society, and they get a free pass. Now, if you want to talk about privilege, most white folks I know got to pay for theirs, or they have to earn scholarships to get into colleges. So you tell me where privilege resides in this equation, folks. Use your fucking brains. Universities have always been the hotbeds for Marxist indoctrination. And when you can train the teacher corps, then you can translate this Marxist ideology down into high schools, middle schools, and grade schools. And you're seeing this happen with all of this leftist bullshit creeping into the classrooms and the whole supposed equality thing. Now, in this respect, I got to agree with Dr. Jordan Peterson. There is no equality. The only equality is that we all come out of the birth canal and we're born as human beings. People have different talents. People have different skills. Nobody is ever equal. Some people are going to outperform other people. Doesn't mean that one has more value than the other, but it does mean that there is inequality. This doesn't mean it has to turn into rank and hierarchy, but some people are more geared for different occupations or different trades or different skills than other people are. This doesn't mean that you can't push yourself to excel and make yourself something better, to increase your own value to yourself. I don't think that everybody should necessarily feel that they have value to the culture other than as a productive member of that culture and providing what skills they can to make their lives and the lives of their communities better. But this equality nonsense that the Marxist left radical wing is peddling is the same thing they've always peddled. And they use the word democracy, they toss it around like candy, from a piñata. The democracy that they're peddling is, let's rile up the voter masses to get what we want. And this is something I want every one of you SJWs that might be listening to this, because you're starting to utilize your brain cells. Look into the history of socialism and communism. This democracy garbage only lasts as long as the erection of the totalitarian state, at which point all the useful idiots like the SJWs and like the agitators and Black Lives Matter and like all the victims that seek special status beforehand in order to undermine countries and civilizations, once they have outserved their usefulness, then they're usually put up against a wall and shot. The intelligentsia and the academics are usually first, and the rest of the criminal rabble-rousers, they're right behind them. So, all you people screaming about social justice, you're playing right into their hands. And because you have no sense of history, because you have no concept whatsoever of how rabid communism works, you're just useful idiots. You're tools in their hands, you're putty for them to shape their agenda. And all this luxury that you have to get out and protest in the streets is going to end the day the dictator comes in and starts issuing orders to shoot you crazy fucks for being the stupid, overeducated, intellectualist assholes that you are. It has happened time and time again, with one regime falling after another whenever the communist totalitarians move in. Everybody wants to scream about Hitler and his supposed 6 million Jews. They don't tell you a whisper about the 100 to 160 million people that have died at the hands of communist revolutionaries, or shall we call them social justice warriors, just like you dumb motherfuckers. Get some education. Find your value. And no one is going to find their value so long as they think they're a victim. If you think you're victimized, then you have no sense of personal value. Somebody is always doing something to you. And that goes, you don't have any responsibility for yourself because you don't have any system of value for yourself. You don't know your own worth beyond that of claiming to be a put-upon victim, part of the underclass of society, and somebody else is doing it to you. Victim mentality leads to entitlement mentality, to where if you're a victim and you're on the welfare rolls and you don't feel any value for yourself, you develop a sense of entitlement that makes you believe that you're entitled to the fruits from my labor. Every Marxist government works on a point of equalizing everybody, but what you people don't realize is it's equalization at the bottom rung of the ladder. The middle class, if there is one, gets utterly destroyed, and then you wind up with a two-class system, which returns to the old form of government called feudalism, to where the elite, and make no doubt communists always have their elite, are sitting with their dachas and their mansions, and everybody else is reduced to poverty. Like the old feudal lords had their castles and the peasants were scraping to get a few vegetables out of the ground to feed themselves and their family. This is what equality and the communist version of democracy leads to. It creates a two-class system, those with the wherewithal to live the lives they want to, and everybody else scraping the dirt for something to eat. If you don't want to believe this shit, all you got to do is look at what's going on in Venezuela and all those people fighting over a roll of toilet paper because what used to be a thriving economy turned into garbage once the communists took over. This is socialism at its best, you stupid social justice warriors. You perpetual victims. You cannot maintain a victim mentality and know your own self-worth. Your ego can get up there and beat its breast about how put upon you are, but you have no real sense of value except that as a victim. I'm a victim, therefore I'm special, therefore I deserve special rights, and screw everybody else. Even if you're less than 1% of the population, you deserve those special rights. while everybody else has to kowtow to your wishes and kiss your ass and not hurt your poor victimized feelings. You can't do that and have any real sense of self-worth. You cannot know your own value when you don't acknowledge your own value beyond overinflated ego impressions of being the victim. Your only value is being a victim and nothing else. So if your only sense of value is that of being a victim, then you do not recognize your own value and your own worth. You are only a victim, and your ego is wallowing in being a victim and screaming about how you deserve more because of your perception of being victimized. This is the road we're headed to in the West. This is the overall Communist International. And make no mistake, it is international in scope. It is a drive for globalism. Democracy leads to socialism, which eventually leads to totalitarianism. History has proven this time and again. And these quasi-educated demi-savants, which means they're book-educated idiots that don't know anything, and most of them only look at what they want to, just like video game watchers. They don't see the world around them. They only see the illusion they want to see. They're victims. And victims are always easy to incite because most of humanity feels that it's a victim of some external force or another. When you feel that you're a victim, you do not recognize your own value. And if you do recognize your own value, you don't have to beat your breast and scream at the sky about how valuable you are because you know it within yourself. You don't have to proclaim it to the world. Only insecure people have to proclaim how great they are. It's a lie they tell themselves to make themselves comfortable, to make themselves believe the lie they embrace. When you know your own value and your own worth as a PSOYCA sentient living in a human form, you don't have to throw it out there and brag it up to the world about how special you are and how important you are, because you already know. Your own sense of value is internal. You don't have to gain your sense of worth through the eyes of others, which is what most people do. The entire illusion of the ego is external validation. Get the world to acknowledge me. Because if the world acknowledges me, then my own lies about myself are true. What I want to impress upon my listeners is that you have value regardless of what the world says. You should know your own worth without having some external force acknowledge how great you are. In the modern socialist government, everybody wants the government to pat them on the head and say, there, yes, you're right, you're victimized, you're put upon, so we're going to carve out some special little laws and we're going to make you quiet because we're going to cater to your stupid, insecure ego needs because you don't understand your own value. We're going to give you a false value as a victim, and we're going to acknowledge your victim mentality. And this is what it's all about. This is the whole social justice movement. People don't realize that Antifa was created by the Communist Party to fight up against Hitler's gangs in the street. And here's another thing for all these people that say, oh, Hitler was right-wing. Bullshit. Hitler was a fucking socialist. It was the National Socialist Party, you idiots. The only reason Hitler ran afoul of the Communist International is because he was promoting communist statism. There's not a dime's worth of difference between the two ideologies and what the outcome of totalitarianism came to be, other than, well, he was right-wing. Yeah, sure he was, compared to the far, far left. Anything right of the far, far left is right-wing. Hitler wasn't right-wing any more than I am. He was a socialist, dyed and true, just like the goddamn communists. He just sold a statist brand of it rather than an internationalist, globalist brand of it, which is where they ran at odds against each other. So all you mask-wearing Antifa shits, it's a communist organization, and it started back in the 1930s. It's nothing new, regardless of what kind of propaganda they're telling you on the fucking universities. It's all about destabilization, so communist totalitarianism can come in on its heels and stamp out that stuff. Every Antifa social justice warrior will find themselves up against a wall and shot once their usefulness to the communist cause is done out, because they don't want antagonists in their communist world. They kill antagonism. They foment rebellion in their target countries before they want to take them over. But once the country is subdued, any rebels are soon put up against the wall and shot. So if you social justice warriors think you're going to get social justice at the hand of the communists if they take over in the West, you got another thing coming. You'll be the first on the firing squad. Some of you, as far as I'm concerned, right now you deserve it just for your fucking idiocy, your lack of education, your lack of historical knowledge as to where this stuff leads. But when you're a victim, that's all you can do is be a victim. You don't have any self-value. You don't have any self-worth because your ego has you running on steroids about how victimized you are. One who knows their own value, which every one of you should, is not a victim and doesn't play the victim card. And it doesn't matter what shape that victim card is, whether you want to use race or sex or political ideology, you're still a fucking victim. There is no personal responsibility in being a victim. There's only being a victim. And ego braggadocio about how special you are. Well, there's nothing special about being a victim. If you want to continue to be a victim, then you deserve the world that comes to you. And if you're one of the agitators that's used as the useful idiots, and that's what the communists call you people, useful idiots, then when the time comes, they put your ass up against the wall and take the firing squad to you. As far as I'm concerned, you deserve it for being victimized idiots. And for the rest of you doing the work, stay the course and don't give up on yourselves.